I need some help fixing my car. Therefore, I'm going to go ask a veterinarian. I mean, why not? Everyone gives the same answers and has the same knowledge, right? After all, that's what the religious seem to think. Go ask someone who will give you the answers that you want most, not the answers that make any kind of rational sense. So, let's get to it. This is going to be a hoot. Did you ever notice that when the religious want answers, they always ask the entirely wrong people? Why? Because the right people won't give them the answers that they desperately want. Because none of this is ever about getting the truth. They just want comforting lies told to convince those who already believe that they were right all along. And that is just stupid. It really is. Emotional comfort and truth, emotional comfort and fact, those things don't usually go together. And that's why these people are just so dumb. So let's go take a look at an example.
There are some aspects of science that gives evidence that the Bible is true.
No, there aren't. Now, I suppose it depends on what you mean. What aspects of the Bible are you trying to prove? When it comes to any of the supernatural claims of the Bible, there is absolutely no evidence of any kind that any of it ever happened, period. But the religious are desperate, we all know this, so they will make claims of evidence that doesn't actually exist, or that isn't really evidence of anything, because it leads to the conclusions that they want to reach for emotional reasons. And as I said, that's dumb. It really is. This is how children operate, not intelligent adults. And that tells you something not at all flattering about the religious, doesn't it? This is exactly the wrong person to ask when talking about scientific subjects, but it's really the only class of people that the religious listen to, isn't it? Apologists and clergy, people who know their religion inside and out, but don't really know anything about anything else. These are the supposed experts that theists seek out. Why? Well, if you're sick, you go to a doctor. Unless you're really religious, then you seek out your pastor to pray over you while you waste away and die. Because prayer doesn't do a damn thing, but actual medical science does. If you have a problem with your marriage or at work, you don't seek out the appropriate counselors, you go talk to your pastor, like they have a clue. If you want to know anything about science, you go talk to a scientist. You don't go talk to some moron who stands up in front of a bunch of other morons on Sunday morning and preaches about stupid shit. You seek out a demonstrable expert in the field. These are not those people. Figure it out. That's your first problem right there.
Is there a scientific proof of God? And I'll ask first from Rabbi Eric David Lakatos.
Well, thank you for that question, Gary. You're getting into an area called apologetics and the defense of our faith. And I would answer that by saying there are some aspects of science that gives evidence that the Bible is true.
And that's still not the case, even the second time around. If there was evidence, you wouldn't need faith. But you can't really do religion without blind faith, because religion in and of itself makes no rational sense. It just doesn't. But they have to appeal to their audience, and their audience is largely ignorant, so who cares what the religious shysters have to say? What demonstrable knowledge do any of these people have in any subject matter useful to the discussion? None whatsoever. Again, Why is anyone asking these people anything?
For example, archaeology. If you go to Israel, like I've been several times, and you take part in an archaeological dig, you will find artifacts, and there has been discoveries that come right up out of the ground that the Bible is true.
Yeah, about that. If you go look at Biblical Archaeology Review, which is one of the most respected and well-known magazines dealing with so-called biblical archaeology, even they admit that a lot of claims made about archaeology in the Middle East are spurious at best. They have shown time and time again that discoveries that are trumpeted as proving some biblical claim or another, they are invariably shown with the passage of time to not really show much of anything at all. They don't mean what they're purported to mean. And of course, nobody ever remembers when those claims are walked back because nobody cares. When somebody comes by later on and says, "Oh, that wasn't really from the Bible, that was something else." Well, the people who believe in the Bible, they don't go back and change their minds, do they? Because they don't care. And that's really the biggest problem we face. The religious are looking to validate a belief. They are not looking to discover the truth.
But other sciences such as Darwinism and other theories of evolution, they fall flat, and they don't necessarily prove God, but they don't disprove God. Which what I'm trying to say is, for example, Einstein discovered that the universe had a starting point and is expanding.
He's all over the place, isn't he? First off, Darwinism isn't a science. You are a moron. Second off, it isn't the job of evolution to disprove your imaginary friend. It is your job to prove he exists. Get to work. Third, Einstein has nothing at all to do with evolution. He was a physicist. This is really what I was talking about. These aren't people with any kind of expertise. These are people just trying to throw shit at a wall to see what sticks with their audience. Is there scientific evidence for their beliefs? No, there is not, because their beliefs are dumb and they just aren't concerned. So they're going to play make-believe and stumble drunkenly around from topic to topic, trying to make some kind of a case that their followers will accept. This is not how rational evaluation of the facts works. But they don't care about that, do they?
So that means the universe is not eternal. And so it started in what we call ex nihilo, and out of nothing.
It means absolutely nothing of the sort. Science never shows that. The Big Bang is the expansion of matter into our specific pocket universe. It says nothing at all about what came before that. The idea that there was nothing, that is not something science ever claims. Ever. But it fits with the religious mindset, and their believers don't know any better, and let's be honest, neither do they. So they just run with it because it gets them where they want to go. These are not people who know a damn thing about science. They just don't. This is embarrassingly sad.
God created everything out of nothing. And so when you think about that, everything in our universe has a cause and effect. So you got to ask the question, what caused the Big Bang? What caused something to come out of nothing? And the last time I checked, nothing plus nothing equals nothing.
Which is why your beliefs go absolutely nowhere, because you have nothing. Well, he has ignorance, which I guess theoretically is something, but not something you ought to be proud of. I mean, if even a scientific layman like myself knows how absolutely wrong he is, he's in real trouble. Do not ask dumb people with no information complex questions. Ask scientists. If you want to know if science agrees with your theology, ask people who have a clue about science. The rabbi here doesn't have a goddamn clue.
And so there Therefore, it is God who created everything. Science is ever increasingly approving intelligent design, or not disproving it, is what I should say. And more people are discovering that. So it's encouraging. It's exciting. There's a lot of books out there. I encourage you to read, get into apologetics, and science is doing a lot. Answers in Genesis is a wonderful Christian ministry.
You serious?
I mean, seriously, if science is proving Christianity, which it isn't, or at the very least not disproving it, which of course it isn't because that's not its job, why are the overwhelming majority of scientists atheists? 93% of the National Academy of Scientists were atheists last time I looked. There is a very strong negative correlation between advanced education and religious belief. The more you know, the less you tend to believe, and religion in the West has been in a nosedive for decades. It's really going downhill today, but it's been in decline for over half a century if you go back and look at the statistics. It's why you people are terrified of a secular education. It doesn't support your beliefs.
Good stuff out there, but great question, Gary. Thank you.
I love that. And at one time, scientists were even saying that the universe was infinite, but when we discovered that it was expanding, we knew that it was finite, it had a beginning. That's so good. I want to ask the same question of Dr. Benjamin Baker of Church of Abundant Life in Southfield.
The question is, there scientific proof for God? No, there is no scientific proof for God, nor is there any other proof for God. There's no biblical proof for God. There's no spiritual proof for God. You know, we talk about ontological argument for the existence of God, but God is not to be proved.
At least someone has sort of a clue, I guess. Good job, Pastor. Of course, once you know this is true, why are you still pushing this unproven and unjustified nonsense? Oh, right, because it makes you feel good. Because who cares about reality anyhow? And this is really where the disconnect between the rational mind and the faithful wishful thinking comes in. Humans can compartmentalize and hold completely contradictory belief systems and not be individually aware. There are people out there who are very intelligent and rational on one side, right up until they get to their religious belief, where all intelligence and rationality go sailing right out the window.
The Bible says in Psalm 14:1, the fool has said in his heart that there is no God. The Bible does not prove God. There is no outside source other than God himself that says that God is. The Bible says God is, and that's it.
But that doesn't prove anything, does it? I could say that invisible, intangible, universe-creating pixies are, and that's it. How is that any different than what this guy is saying? It's not, but it's still dumb. Intelligent people need more than, "It's true because I say so." But that's really all the religious have, if you notice. It's just wishful thinking. They demand it's true because it makes them feel good to think that it's true, but that doesn't really make it true, does it? Anyone can make a claim. That doesn't make the claim true. And if you are concerned with what is true, claims mean absolutely nothing in and of themselves. They need to be supported with evidence. You know, that stuff the religious don't have. But of course, the religious don't care, do they? Because they're just overly emotional children living in adult bodies.
And so there's no proof, scientific, biblical, spiritual, revelatory, anything to prove God. The heavens declare the glory of God, but God is who God is, and God will be who God will be. So there is no, quote, proof. And then what would you use to prove he who cannot be proven?
Why does that sound like Voldemort? He who cannot be named. Anyone with any modicum of geek cred would recognize that reference and point it out, which is why they don't talk to anyone with half a clue, if you notice. They just talk to each other, and it's a giant theological circle jerk. We're all right because we all already agree that we're right, so there. Except that's really, really stupid. They can't look outside of their religious circle jerk because they're not concerned. They just don't care. And from Doofus McRabbi Pants here to you have to believe Baker, what have they said that's worth listening to? Absolutely nothing. And how pathetic is that?
He who is infinite, he who is eternal, he is everlasting, he is immutable. So no, there is no scientific proof nor any other proof to believe that God is. God just is, and you believe it, and if you don't believe it, God still is.
So there.
And certainly it's true that there was no observer. Nobody observed a Big Bang. Nobody observed evolution. And nobody but Jesus, who was the Word, and the Word was with God in the beginning, saw the creation of the world. And there is no human being here to say that they observed it. And we know that's part of the scientific method. So a little bit of a different take there.
Oh, good. You're stupid too. You don't have to observe something directly. You just have to look at the evidence left behind to see what happened. You know, evidence, that stuff none of you have for any of the things that you believe. Yeah, that stuff. The stuff that's actually important. I mean, why did the last guy get to waste our time on a question about scientific evidence? Couldn't you have given those last two guys over there that you didn't talk to, couldn't you have given them a shot? Or were they even more ridiculous than Faith Man Baker was? So we ran the gamut of religious stupidity, between bald-faced lying to completely empty faith, and you never actually answered the question. Why? Because none of them know a damn thing. It's why I keep saying that you have to ask the right people the right questions if you want to get credible answers. If you want to know what science has to say, you ask scientists. If I cared what theology had to say, I'd go ask a pastor or a priest. I wouldn't just ask some random person off the street any more than I'd ask a doctor to explain nuclear fusion. But these are not people who are looking for actual answers because, come on, they don't care. They really don't. I guess that's why nobody watches this channel's content. Nobody except skeptics, and we're only there to laugh. In fact, if you look at the 2 and only 2 comments that have been left on this video, both of them were by skeptics, and the channel had nothing intelligent to say in response to either. Did you ever notice that? Those few religious channels that haven't completely shut down comments and ratings, and we know there's tons and tons of those, but the ones that keep it open and actually ever respond to things that are posted, the only thing they ever say are things like, well, thank you for commenting, or some nonsense like that. They don't have anything intelligent to say because they don't care. This is going to be one of the times that I absolutely go post a link to my video response as soon as it goes up, and I'm sure they're not going to respond to any of my criticisms either, because they don't want to have an intelligent conversation. They just want to mindlessly preach. It's why my video will have many, many more views than theirs does, because at least I make sense. Maybe the religious should give that a shot.